Hello and welcome to a huge edition of Layback with Betfair. It is Cox Plate weekend, the best weight for age race in Australia, if not the world. My name's Nick Foote. Joining me are two men that are going to help me dissect that card, and also a couple of feature races at Royal Randwick this weekend. I speak of Tom Haylock. Trav Noonan's back on the show. Good to see you again, Trav.
Yeah, good to be back, Nick. So looking forward to the weekend. One of the great weekends in sport, isn't it? Cox Plate weekend. So looking forward to it.
And it's one of the great weekends in sport because it's also the Baron of Betfair, Tom Haylock's birthday weekend, which he likes to tell me every year. Happy birthday. He goes on a 3-day Cox Plate bender. It's all for the races, nothing to do with him. But how you feeling, mate? I know you've had the functions are finally catching up with you.
Yeah, been a bit cooked this week. So off the deathbed. Done enough form, so we'll see how we go. But Cox Plate, my favourite race in Australia, and I think it is the best race in Australia.
Yep, most definitely. I love that he's instilled the listeners with a little bit of confidence. I've done a bit of. I've done a little bit of. Oh, that's good then. Thanks. Yeah. Thanks for turning up. That's a nice little segue actually into the lay bin. Tom not doing form for the show. We might just throw that in to start with.
I'm not Reece Goodwin.
Trav, you always bring something left of field. What do you got for us?
Oh, well, I could have gone down the racing path with the program, but that's a bit boring. So I thought yesterday I was sitting on the couch at home. I was really pumped up for the NBA day one, and it just sucked. Like it was just not what we were expecting.
What were we expecting?
I was expecting Boston Celtics, New York Knicks to be a good game. It was an absolute blowout. The Boston Celtics destroyed the New York Knicks with, all the trades that they made, bringing. Maybe I'm the only one that really cares about the NBA, but they brought in all these different players, and they were not good yesterday.
Are you a full basketball nuffy, or are you a punting NBA man?
I'm definitely more the basketball nuffy than the punting NBA man. I'd like to do a bit more in the betting space in the NBA, I reckon, this year. Haven't done a lot of it in the past, but yesterday didn't inspire me to like start trying to do my betting, because I would have had a few of those games a lot closer to what they ended up finishing. It was cool to see Bronny play with LeBron, his son, of course, and they got on the court together at the same time. That was cool.
That's cool.
But in terms of the actual games, it was a pretty poor start to the NBA. So I'm lay binning the NBA day one. It can only improve from here, though, Nick.
It won't be. It's not the first up performances, not the worst first up performance you'll probably see, particularly on this show. Tommy Haylock, what about you? I'm not liking what you've got in this column here.
Nick Foote and Reece Goodwin.
Yeah, okay.
Reece Goodwin the second week running. Now, he started doing the form yesterday for the show, prepared, then he got a phone call from his old man and said, "You're right for Moe trials in the morning." So called me late last night and said, I've got to cancel, can't come on the show. So just be better, Reece.
Yep.
You're in the lay bin because seen on social and your piece on racing.com, you've just kept my little filly and Reece's filly pretty quiet there, highlighting her with seg one of your little clip. Come on, mate.
Yeah, your filly did run very well last week.
You're trying to get a price
in the Gothic Stakes, lovely cut we speak of, and I'm all about driving the price down for these guys because when there's a punting stable there, I'll actually have my eyes on Matisse. I was just looking for the 1,000 guineas. I was just driving the price down for you guys.
You'll be the bloke cheering Matisse so you can win a couple of hundred while Reece and I are flat on the floor.
No, for a day that was very hard to make ground, you'd be very, very happy with how lovely Cut went about it on Saturday, I would have thought. Just while we're attacking some of our own, I'm putting Haz in the lay bin. He's our producer here at the show. We know that.
What's he done now?
Well, we know Reece has got the trials at today, and he couldn't be on the show. And I asked Haz where Reece is going to be, and he said, "Oh, he's at Mo." And I was like, "Where?" And he goes, "He just messaged me. He's going to Mo for the trials." And I was like, "Moe?" He's like, "No, it's spelled M-O-E, Mo."
That's very good.
If you're living in Victoria and you're not, this is probably
from Adelaide originally.
Probably says more about his sort of status in society, I would have thought. But
wouldn't go that far for a holiday.
Yeah, it's good stuff. But cop that has.
No.
Let's get into the card, boys. It's a cracker. We're going to basically go race 2 through the 10 at the Valley for Cox Plate Day. We're going to kick things off in the Group 3 Red Anchor Stakes. Before we get there, though, let's talk about track conditions. How's the track going to play at the Valley this week? I might throw to you, Trav.
Yeah, rail true for both meetings. So we haven't had any rain over the last couple of days, so
A few showers, maybe.
maybe.
Natural irrigation.
I would think this will be quick, fast, Moonee Valley, rail true, Friday night, nearly impossible to make ground. Saturday, with the amount of racing they're going to have on that track, perhaps the inside cuts out. But yeah, I'd be wanting to focus your starting point on horses that are drawn close to the inside and can be up on top of the speed, personally.
You have to feel for Marty Simon and the team. Every time this time comes around, there's the Friday night meeting beforehand, and we often get wild conditions. I know we've had like thunderstorms and rained off and things like that. So it must be a real balance to get through Friday night and get the track right for the best weight for age race meet.
I was hoping you didn't say that about Friday night, because just back leaders early Friday night. Love doing that every year. And they often get off fence late, especially if there is rain around. You said it's a bit dry this year, but you often see them coming down the middle a little bit more in Cox Plates and the last couple of races on Cox Plate Day. So backing up and in Friday night, leaders early, and then just monitor throughout the Saturday as well. They could be getting off, and as you said, Trav, chopped up inside maybe. So we'll see how we go.
Well, let's kick off race 2, the Group 3 Red Anchor Stakes for the 3-year-olds, 1,200 metres. Archo Nacho beat home Mahaba and Don't Hope Do last year, and Schwartz was back in the field as well. So it wasn't a bad race out of there. How are we going to be playing the Red Anchor? We're all sort of getting involved, and a couple of opposing views as well. Might kick to you, Tommy.
Yeah, well, you two are going head-to-head here. I think Ikasara is probably the horse to beat, rolling up on speed. I agree, he got the Sydney form. That form looks pretty good. But I'm going the roughie in the field here. I think he's a good price. Old Mozart, Wolfgang.
The composer.
The composer. Out of a filly called Serenade. So I don't know whether that has anything to do with the name. Probably not. He's been gelded this campaign, Wolfgang. He's shown a bit of ability. He won at Doomben. Been pretty short prices at Morpheville and Doomben across end of last year. He's returned in sensational fashion for what I've seen at the trials. He beat Harry Got Styles, who was race fit in the Cranbourne trial recently, and he looked very good there. His trial before, he made ground down the outside and put a gap on them. I just think he's returning a different horse. He's $30 at Betfair. He's got Damien Lane on board. That's good enough for me from barrier 4. So throw out the stumps early in the day. A big price, Wolfgang, for me.
Jeez, he's just gone wide early, hasn't he? And said, hello.
We'd all be better off gelded.
Trav.
Well, some of us. I don't know. I've still got a little bit of time. I couldn't find Wolfgang, but I don't mind coming off the plate first with a roughie. I thought this race was between a few in the market. Didn't like Pisces first up at 1,200, so against him, I think he's probably better off at 14. Perhaps they're setting him towards something like Sandown Guineas. Ikasara's got the form through some of the better horses. He's obviously coming out of a race behind Switzerland, but he had the right run in that race. He led the field. I thought he was a little weak the last 100, and even though he'll get conditions to suit at Moonee Valley on Saturday, just wonder how strong he's going to be at that last 100 metres. And I thought Blake Shin on Bezusto, he'll put the pressure to him from the 400-metre mark and make Ikasara work for this victory. And I just like this horse coming back in distance. They deliberately decided not to push on in the Caulfield Guineas after an average one in the Caulfield Guineas Prelude. Keep him at 1,200. They haven't looked at anything, sort of above where he's at. Take him back to Group 3 level. He's obviously Group 1 place. So I like the whole preparation around this. He spun around at the Valley on Tuesday. Thought he worked good. So, yeah, I like Bezusto here. I think if you're taking sort of 350 around that sort of mark, I think it's a fair bet.
I'm backing Ikasara here. I just comes through a better race. Like the Roman Consul's good form line for this. 3 lengths off, just under 3 lengths off Switzerland. I think Jordan.
Really cold if he's short here.
Yeah.
I know it's 3 lengths off, but
I think Jordan Childs will get his own way up top. It's interesting what you say about how Blake Shin may ride Bezusto. I think the race will say it was run evenly in the Roman Consul, but if you look at Ikasara's split between the 1,000 and the 800, just gets away from him and is probably why I thought he was entitled to be a touch week late. I like at his third run here, stays at 1,200 metres, providing he gets around the Valley. I think he's going to be mighty hard to beat Ikasara. So I'm keen to get involved there. So Trav and I going head to head. Tommy's getting loose and going real wide, which we like as well in the first with Wolfgang. Well, let's head to race 3 now, boys, which is the listed Crockett Stakes. It's for the fillies, 3-year-olds, 1,200 metres. Gumdrops beat home Solitaire and Shiva in last year's edition. Right to Party also came through the race, so I think it's the best horse moving forward there. I just had to get my girl in. How are we going to assess the Crockett, Trav?
Yeah, I thought the favourite's a little skinny, Certain Rice. She smashed the clock at Mornington off a maiden win, but this is definitely a lot harder. Faces a bit of pressure as well to get across from the wide draw. At 1,200 Moonee Valley, don't love them being drawn wide when there's a bit of pressure underneath, because you can have to work quite hard to that first turn. It's not a long run till you hit that first turn. So, yeah, I thought it's a little skinny at around that $3.30, $3.20 mark. So not laying it, but against it here with Seascape, who brings the Sydney form. I think Sydney form over the next 2 weeks is going to be very important. A few of these Melbourne lead-up races for the undercard races coming up, I don't think it's very strong. We've had a very diluted spring carnival so far in Melbourne. I reckon you want to be against a lot of the listed Group 3 form down here when they're bringing sort of horses from Sydney with these strong benchmark racing listed Group 3 form. And Seascape's one of those. She comes out of 2 really hot races that have rated really well. Both runs, she's had the right run, but the way the races worked out, they've been quite slowly run races and something's burnt home to beat her. This race sets up, I think, a little bit different. Could be quite fast run, and she might be the one that just outstays her rivals at the 1,200, if you can stay at 1,200 metres anyway. But yeah, she's going to be the one to beat, I think, Seascape.
Yeah, she could be stronger at the end, and I agree with you in everything you've said. I'm backing Seascape as well. I thought they've been a little bit sit and sprintish her last 2 starts as well. I thought Tommy Berry probably could have just pressed the button a touch earlier. She was just out sprinted by Extremely Hardy's. That was in a Fillies and Mares 72 race. Extremely Hardy's going to be a big rival of Lovely Cut when it comes to 1,000 Guineas time. Tommy, I think, as well, looks a good horse. And yeah, agree with you, Trav, around that narrative with the Sydney form. I think it's going to be really important, hence why I've probably backed Dickassara and Seascape in the first 2 races we've covered here. So, yeah, I think she'll benefit us a stronger tempo at this stage of her prep over 1,200.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I think Certain Rise is probably a touch short, and I've got Seascape on top. I did go looking for Zoo Baby, who settled outside lead, thought was pretty strong Sydney form last start as well, drawn well. But I want to ask you guys, you mentioned that Sydney form this time of year, often early carnival in the past in spring, you've seen Sydney form dominate. They come over here because the carnival started earlier.
Yep.
And then come Flemington Cup Week, they'd often not be as good because they'd probably over the top or had too many runs or gone to the world too many times. Do you think that's changing now with the pattern?
Yep.
We've got the carnival extended, so now they're targeting in the spaces. Do you think that'll change?
I think it's definitely changing. Last, sort of 3 years, whilst the Everest and all those other big races have come into play, what they have done racing in South Wales is rejig a lot of the undercard races to be moved back to align with those big days. So trainers are not as interested as getting their horses in Sydney now ready to rock and roll in August, September. They're more interested in October, November, when the big prize money comes around for their carnivals. And then if they do want to switch the horses down to Melbourne, once those carnivals sort of peter out a little bit, I think you bang on. They're better placed now coming for the back end of the Melbourne carnival.
I think it's a bit of horses for courses as well. Like you look at a race that we're speaking of here, which is the Crockett, and you look at a horse like Seascape, who's getting deeper into the preparation, and you've got other horses here coming out of sort of maiden grade in Victoria. Yep. So I think I always play it as horses for courses, but certainly understand the sentiment.
I just think like the Epsom maybe is a race that comes to mind that the trainers used to target them. Now it's almost a lead up for other races like the Golden Eagle and stuff like that.
Yeah, King Charles races like that. Yeah, and you can see that with a lot of those undercard races. And you see throughout the day there at Moonee Valley on Saturday, the amount of horses coming through a Sydney run that are favourite. So Firestorm we get to a bit later on, Dickassara. I think it's going to be very important having that different line of form coming in towards some of these Melbourne features. And even a horse like Certain Rights, she hasn't been contesting the Saturday stuff in Melbourne. She's not beaten up. So She's only coming from a maiden run. So those horses with the different form, even if it's not Sydney form, I think the different form to what you're seeing week to week in Melbourne could be really potent.
And the tracks will be better in Sydney too, which might make it easy to stay up.
Let's take a look at race 4. It's the Group 2 Fillies Classic for the 3-year-olds over the mile. Skybird beat home Grinzinger Bell and Karina Queen last year. Jeez, this looks a challenging race. I've gone full Steve Smith shouldering arms here, lads. Are you more courageous than me and going to have a bet?
Nothing for me. I hope they run slow time, bunch finish, and they don't press on.
Yeah, look, I don't think they're going to be troubling your girl in the 1,000 guineas.
No,
but
I don't think so.
This is not a strong race for a Group 2, but we can bet. There's
I love that.
Serious.
Love that.
Every race has a winner. It's Trav Noonan's modus
Good,
operandi.
Trav. What do you got for us? I'll be betting. So
I'm happy backing horses at Avoca, Manangatang. I'm happy backing them at Moonee Valley. So Polyamnia, I think, here is an absolute moral. Very keen on this runner. You're taking nearly $4. J-Mac on
again. I love it.
The Sydney form coming through some strong maidens. So these aren't your standard maidens. These are $100,000 maidens that she's coming through, where she's been unlucky in a couple of those runs, charging home from the back at 1,200, 1,400, up to the mile. Filly by done deal. He loved the Valley. I reckon this is just absolute set play by John O'Shea and Tom Charlton. Yep. Saw Tommy down there on Tuesday at Breakfast the Best. Horse gallop super. J-Mac gave it the tick of approval as I was sort of walking past, just caught a little glimpse of that. So very keen to Polyamnia. I just think the Melbourne fillies here are just not much good. Cavity Bay battled hard in the Hill Smith last start that's been up forever. Double Market comes through a very slow run race at Ballarat. Chocolates is probably the one that I could get interested in a bit of a price as the maybe saver runner. But I think it'll be better suited at 2,000 metres, perhaps backing up into a wakeful. So, yeah, the more I looked at this race, the more it'll need something to go pretty pear-shaped for it to get beat, I reckon.
That's as confident a push as you'll get on the show.
I love it.
We've got a lot of cowards that usually sit here on the form chair and
usually in the host chair.
I've just thrown the rod out and reeled one in. Got me a marlin. Terrific push though. Polyamnia. I wasn't going to bet in race 4. But yeah, well, you were going to bet in every race.
It's my birthday.
Being on birthday's
money
Haylock.
away for this weekend with a couple of mates. So
Did
it's
you?
always a good for the year.
Tom's punters club.
It is. That is
that's a big day.
It's a scary scenes that'll be. Let's move on to race 5. It's the Group 3 JRA Cup. It's over a distance of 2,040 metres, which we'll familiarise ourselves with a little bit later in the program as well. Ain't No Deal Done beat home Red Sun Sensation and Forgot You in last year's edition. Is this as simple as a Kingswood rinse and repeat of the Coonji?
Probably, yeah. He was pretty dominant there in that Coonji. They walked in front of the Coonji and he dashed home. You can't see too much different here, though, can you, with the Ma having 4 of the 8 runs. The rest of the field are sort of get back run on type. So probably the same thing. My only little question mark is 10 days between runs. Maybe looking at the Queen Elizabeth. I don't think he has to win here for them, to be happy with how he's going. And they could ride him a little bit cold from gate 1. That's in the back of my mind, considering they're probably going to go up in trip next start.
So where's price point sit? So 225, 230 corporates at the moment. You'll get better on Betfair. What's the price? Yeah.
I wanted 260, 270, and I was probably never going to get that. So just from my point of view, just shouldering arms for the race, just watching it.
Yep. Tommy?
Yeah, I think entitled to be favourite. Future History's a hateful horse. Hate him. Ran second in the Moonee Valley Cup.
I backed him in the Cup last year.
Ran second in the back Cleveland, as you would have known.
Yes.
Zara On's a massive jockey change for me. No disrespect to Zach Waddick and Declan Bates, obviously, but staying jockey, I think it'll suit the horse as well. So clear danger for me, but Kingswood on top for Future History.
Yeah, no bet for me. Second to none's flying though.
Didn't have a lot of luck in that scene
at all.
It was held up for a long period of time.
Yep.
Sort of got out that last 250. Yeah, it's a sneaky one, and I think there might be a bit of market push for her late second to none.
Yeah, I thought it sort of opened going, maybe I'll get double figures about this, but it doesn't feel like anyone really missed the run in the Seymour Cup. So happy to leave that and move on. Let's head now to race number 6, which is Group 2, the Vase for the 3-year-olds. This is a really nice lead up for the Vic Derby. Apulia won this race last year before going on to run second in the VRC Derby behind Riff Rocket. There's a few differing views in this race, particularly between myself and Trav, and Tommy as well. She says this is a real 2-on-1. I'm going to hand over to you blokes to pledge your case. If your horse even goes here. I
just think the Victorian staying 3-year-olds are no good. We saw a really slowly run race last Saturday.
It's farcical.
With Red Aces going to run, got scratched, and now it's here. Needs to run well to go to the Derby, obviously. But I'm with firm agreement. I just think that Gloaming Stakes form is far superior, to be honest. I think it's the right form line. Shin jumps on. We've got El Costello, Swift Falcon, and Henline favourite in the Group 1. Well, they're the 3 favourites in the Group 1 on Saturday. Firm agreement comes from that form line. It's now 350 here against what I think is a very average group. So I'm very, very keen and very confident firm agreement here.
Yeah, much the same. A little bit disappointed didn't take the 11, but was shopped all in. It's too good to those that took that. But he's still got to come here. I suppose that's the little question mark, because he's still in the Spring Champion Stakes. And no doubt if they think they're a chance of running in, top 3 in a Group 1, they've got to really consider running there. Yeah. I think that if he comes here, he'll win.
I hope he's here.
Yeah, I agree with Tommy. All the points. The Victorian staying form has looked really average just across the board. They haven't put any big ratings up, bunch finishes, slow run races. Politely done, went from one of those bunch finish average rating races in the Derby preview to a Ballarat maiden and made them look second rate. But the second horse would struggle to win a 2,400 metre maiden in Victoria. It was a bad race.
Yeah, and he ties into Red Aces kind of through Keeneland and King of Wall Street as well.
Yeah, and they ran in the Biley as 2-year-olds, which is never usually a good form race. I don't know. I'm just very suspect of those Victorian boys. They'll probably, both of them will improve getting to 2,500, but firm agreement here at 2,040 just looks sharper than the pair. I thought he'd be in front of both horses in the run with B Shin. And yeah, this is a stable I'm really keeping an eye on the next 2 weeks. Annabelle Niche and Rob Archibald. They didn't have the best sort of run through August, September.
No, they found form now.
But they've really turned the corner probably the last 4 weeks. And I reckon they're going to be bringing horses to Melbourne that are here ready to go and win races. I think they'll have a big finish to the carnival. And I reckon this is one of the horses that can set them up. Yeah, I marked him clear favourite. I'm happy taking sort of 250 plus. I think he should be winning this race.
Well, I hope he comes there so I can get a better price about Red Aces.
You didn't like Red Aces last week, did you?
I was with Red Aces on top last week, and I was, he was a tip of mine, and he's been my Derby horse. Just at the stage of his preparation, I expected him to, Nick Ryan's going to have him tuned up. Like, this guy was paid up for a Melbourne Cup, Red Aces, so he's got a high opinion of his staying ability. Clearly. I thought it was the greatest blessing in disguise ever, being scratched at the barriers for that farcically run race last week, to be honest, to be able to come to the Vase and then have that quick backup into the Derby. I think that's the recipe. So I'm with him next week in the Derby, but I'm also going to spec him this week in the Vase. I expect him to be running very well if you want to be a Derby chance. So he's obviously not going to be going to the Cup now, given the stage of his preparation, but it all sounds like he's come through that scratching fine from a condition point of view. So I'm going to be sticking fat with Red Aces.
You're laying him? Sure.
Yeah, I'm laying him. Yeah,
that's called a hamburger.
Yeah, I love this. Could he join the hamburger club?
I don't love the setback, going from scratch to the barriers at 2,000 metres. Potential here, there's just a preparation run for the Derby. They don't, in my opinion, that they're not going to be heartbroken if he comes out and runs third and he's hitting the line. So from that point of view, I hate backing those sort of horses when they're using a race as a preliminary final against a horse like, say, Firm Agreement, Politely Done, who are probably more tuned to win this race. So I thought he'd probably start favourite, Red Aces, and the market would be happy to be with him off that run, the superimpose. And given that, I'm happy to lay.
Just on that, I heard Rob Archibald on radio this morning So they might not even push on to a derby. So this isn't a lead-up run. I think they're here to win either race.
Let's move on. Race number 7. It's the Group 2 McEwen Stakes, weight for age 1,200 metres. Imperatriz beat Rothfire and Giga Kick in last year's edition. There's a bit of controversy to come out of that race for the Everest runner-up. There's good speed here, as you'd expect. Salui, Taubriga, is that how we say it? Taubriga, and Mornington Glory loves racing here at the Valley as well. Boys, I feel like we're going to be ganging up here because we're going head-to-head again, I think, in the McEwen. Trav, how are you assessing it?
I just thought there's really good speed. So
you got Oscar's Fortune leading or outside leader. Got Salui kicking up.
Salui probably kicks up from barrier 2. He's a pretty quick horse.
Yeah,
Salui,
I think he holds up. But I've got Oscar's Crossing, Mornington Glory, and Barrackhill, Cal Braga back on the fence.
Yeah, it's good speed. You look at those first 4 horses. They're horses that can lead races. So I thought this is a 1,200 metre race where it's probably no disadvantage to be back in the field. It's just the way I'm reading it, with a big turn of foot, because they're going to give you the chance to swoop. And by this part of the day, we're looking at race 15 of the 18 from Moonee Valley. The track may be chopping up on the inside, and I think those wider lanes come into play. I love backing Mark Zahra at 1,200 metres at Moonee Valley. I don't think any rider gets that course better. And I'm Unstoppable, I thought, was a really good first up run, new stable, 1,000 metres. He found that race, I thought, just too sharp for him. It happened too fast for him. Got held up round the home turn. He, really made a good dash to the line the last 150, up in trip to 1,200, where all his career best form is. That second in the Coolmore at 1,200. Yes, he's been a bit maligned. He hasn't won for a little while, but second run, Kieran Maher, Mark Zahra on. He's still a stallion prospect. This is a big deal for them if they can get a Group 2 with him. I think it's a really good race for him. He sets up well. I can understand why people wouldn't want to be with him because he hasn't won for a while. He's a back mark. He needs a few things to go his way. But he showed enough to me in that first up run that he can run to his career best here.
I feel like we keep making excuses for I Am Unstoppable. Like, he's a straight track horse. He needs to be gelded. And there comes a time where he's just got to win now before I'm with him. And I've been one of those people that have been donating to the I Am Unstoppable,
though, that he's now with a new camp.
You have to respect the switch, don't you? For sure. But all that being said, and I respect what you say about the sharpness of the race, that was a benchmark 100 that was his to win. I mean, hard to say was holding him through. Yeah, he was held up on the turn, but hard to say was holding him through the line. Hard to say went on to finish 6 lengths down the track in a Sydney Stakes, and all the form in behind's been rubbish. So when you come into a McEwen Stakes, which there's some pretty good form through here, I'm questioning him, and I'm making I Am Unstoppable a lay for those reasons. I want to see him win until I'm with him.
I couldn't possibly lay him. I have the same questions about the lead-up race. Oscar's Fortune, Mornington Glory. There's a few unlucky runs in that race. Mornington Glory was held up and pretty unlucky. I backed Oscar's. I was pretty disappointed to get done, but I think the winner's pretty smart. But there was a bit of a bunch finish. It was lanes inside, and the winner came down the outside.
She didn't have a good feel about it, that race.
Yeah, I'm just
flying though, Bellatrix Star.
She is.
Yeah, and she defied the pattern to beat all of them. I was, like I said, I've got a big opinion of Oscar's Fortune and was with Oscar's there, but now they're all tied in. So I did go looking for outside of that form. I ended up with Barrackhill and I'm Unstoppable. I thought I'm Unstoppable did enough first up. I heard he paraded really nicely there with improvement. I think he will improve again. I think you're being a touch harsh on him. He's only put in 2 bad runs, really. His Lightning Stakes run and then the Sunlight Classic were pretty plain, but second in the Coolmore, second in the Dame Hill, probably should have beaten Stretton Angel there. He's a good horse, and I can see him improving 1,200 suits, but I've got Barrackhill slightly on top, just 1,200 Moonee Valley winner. I know this is a harder race, but I think he maps really good. He's 1-5 from 7. I just think he gets that right map just in behind the speed and will be presenting at the right time. He sticks at 1,200 metre box. So.
He's an easier lay for me because one of my best bet of the program comes up in the race, which is Oscar's Fortune. So I'm sort of hitching my wagon to race 7 here at the Valley, the McEwen. I think he just picks himself. The run in the Scalacci, he was beaten obviously by Bellatrix Star, who's flying. Well, he had a good run in transit, but if you look through, I'm not so much talking about that as a form race itself. I'm focusing in on Oscar's Fortune and his second up profile. His flawless second up. He's from a ratings perspective, he's sharply improved second up. I think Damian Lane, given the speed drawn underneath and how early, I think he'll find the 1-1. I think this is
he doesn't have to.
I think this will be I think this is a very nice race for Oscar's Fortune to show why he's a flawless second up horse and keep that intact. So I'm making him a back, and I'm making I Am Unstoppable a lay, and it's my best on the program.
Good luck, mate.
Who do you reckon starts favourite in that race? Does Barracuda start favourite, given his winning profile?
I don't know. The market's going to be fascinating.
It will need to improve a little bit.
Yeah.
I think Oscars will start favourite.
Yeah, I've got a feeling you're right. Oscars starts favourite. And that's where I'm going to be interested with I Am Unstoppable. You could be laying him at $6.
This is the problem, isn't it? This is what hurts when we get here and lay horses.
It's $5 there. $6 on the fair.
Yeah, that's lucky. My lay streak, I've only got a $100 liability in my bin. So
let's talk about last week, Nick. What happened?
Well, this is a lay bin in itself, a mid-show lay bin. I have been put on the hall of shame of Betfair Studios. I actually got home from the Caulfield Cup, and the layback team was sitting around in my lounge room, and it was an intervention because I've had a strip out from a back perspective, and my lay streak was Estriella, who got up and won. So it was it was a shameful performance. Sometimes you got to put your hand up, but law of averages suggests I'm going to be back this week, boys. And,
law of averages, I love it.
That's what I've rolled out.
Doesn't have 2 bad weeks in a row.
No, that's how we roll. So variance, I think they call it, Trav.
That's right.
That's what we're going to go with. All right, enough about me. Let's move on to race number 8, which is the Group 2 Crystal Mile, set weights and penalties. 1,600 metres. Prowess beat Antino and Tuvalu in last year's edition. And this looks like another really competitive race here, boys. How are we going to attack it, Tommy?
Yeah, I love the race. I think it's a fantastic race. I was pretty confident Royal Champion last start and had excuses there. He showed speed, which I loved. It showed intent. I thought when he settled outside late, he was just going to stroll in, but had issues post-race, pulled up with an issue. Zara dropped the whip, I think it was. He started $3.20 in that lead up where Uncle Bryn, Royal Champion, plenty of ammo, all come through that race. Drops. So Royal Champion meets plenty of ammo, 5 kilos better the weights for starting with a heavy SP favouritism. Started favourite there, meets plenty of ammo, 5 kilos better the weights, drops 4 kilos. Zara sticks. Maps to be on speed again. He ticks a lot of boxes for me. I went looking for him. Then you got the other lead up with Cyrilio Miss, Superazzi, and Von Hawk through the weekend hustler. Again, Superazzi was fantastic there, ran some exceptional splits. Yeah, absolutely flying. And then Nugget's the class horse, but he hasn't won since December 2022 and is a hateful horse himself. So, yeah, I found it a tricky race. I'm not overly confident. I'll just see what the market does. They're hard to line up for me.
Nugget gets some big changes. Blinkers on first time, J-Mac on. Probably the best 2 changes you could get in racing.
Yep.
But I'm with you. Like, he's a hard horse to come into. Like, he's been in a few races where he's gone back from Group 1 level to this, like Group 3.
Hinged about it.
Yeah, he does. That Group 3, Group 2 level, and he just can't get the job done.
Finds trouble.
Yeah, he's got a bad racing pattern. His lone run at Moonee Valley, it says he didn't finish in the placings, and he didn't. He finished 5th, but that wasn't an all-star mile behind Mr. Brightside, and he was a good run. So I wouldn't say he can't handle Moonee Valley.
Is he running here or Sydney yet? Do we know? Oh, he's in here. Yep.
Yeah, I think he'll definitely run here. So, I'm against Nugget. I'm like you. I like the Paris Lane Stakes. Even though Uncle Bryn won the race, I think Plenty of Ammo and Royal Champion are the 2 horses to take from it. So we talk on Royal Champion, how he's going to improve, because he had the long break between runs. He didn't parade all that well. Had a tough run up on top of speed. Factor all that in and agree with you, Tommy, that he's definitely going to come here as a better product. Plenty of Ammo, though. Simon Wild, first up stats, unbackable. He goes 4% last 12 months first up. I'm not knocking Simon. That's just how they train their horses. Always to build into the prep. So for me, Plenty of Ammo, you can easily say she's going to rate up going second up. They didn't run last week because of the wet track. Dry deck, can roll forward. She's untapped. I thought this is a really good race for her.
Probably should have won that late up too.
Yeah, was held up for a fair stage.
She was going to be she was my next best last week in the Tristarc. The only knock I had on her was staying at 1400. Would have loved to have seen her go to the mile, and now we get that.
Now she's at 1600 and dry ground most likely. So, and Geordie Child's one of the best riders of front running horses if they want to go up there and make use of the draw. So, I think she starts favourite, and I'm happy enough backing her. May have something small on Royal Champion to still have him as a winner. I love Poison Chalice as a horse, but I just don't know where he gets to from the map. He's going to be conceding them a big head start and getting to the set weights and penalties rather than a handicap. Well, he's only a horse rated in the mid-80s compared to a few of these horses like Royal Champion's rated nearly 110. He's not well off against him. So I'm with Tommy, though. This is a very interesting race. Probably the most interesting race of the day for me, but plenty of ammo on top.
Yeah, I think it's almost a D-Day for a horse like Royal Champion. I know Royal Champion most of the
one start here, right?
good form. Well, most of the good forms come at 2000, but from a market perspective and what they did in the lead up to the Paris Lane last start, it was like people were jumping out of trees.
I made him one of my best.
Yeah,
just thought he'd be too good.
But I'm with Plenty of Ammo. I'm playing the racetrack the exact same way as you. I'm backing Plenty of Ammo, and I'm just going to save on Royal Champion because I'm petrified of what the market did last start. Some of the figures from overseas as well, albeit at 2000. But gee, I love when Simon Wild sets one of these mares for a city tilt. We saw what he was doing with Cyril Miss a couple of seasons ago. Wishlaw Lass was his mare last year. Yeah. Plenty of Ammo, she's the one this year, and he has success at this time of year with those. So Plenty of Ammo for me out to the mile as well. That's how I'll be playing the Crystal Mile. It's time though now, boys. It's grand final time. It's race 9. It's the Group 1 Cox Plate, weight for age, 2,040 metres. Romantic Warrior, Animo, and State of Rest are your past 3 winners. 2 of those being international raiders. And, gee, it's a 9-horse field here this year, and it is a cracker of a field. And any time we speak of it when Pride of Jenny is in, it makes any race really interesting, and I think she has to be your starting point from a map point of view, and then we can talk about how things are going to unfold in behind her. A couple of late acceptors like the likes of Evaporate are really interesting, I feel, from a map perspective and what role they're going to have in terms of perhaps the chasers and bringing other runners into the race. Really keen to hear your thoughts on how this is going to unfold and who you're siding with.
Yeah, what do you make of Brightside Winkers again? Just sharpen him up a little bit, bit closer from barrier 2.
I think it's always in the back of their mind. This is grand finals go time. Yep. They need that extra length. They don't. Anything you can find, at that weight for age level. So from a training perspective, I wouldn't have been surprised either if they have got his joints done in the lead up to the race. Yeah, right. So that's something you can do with older horses. You can only do it really once in a preparation. You give them a cortisone injection in the joints to just make them feel a little bit better. I don't know this, but I would have thought they might have done something like that. Winkers on, and that's just, that maybe that last length that they can get to get him to his absolute prime. And he's won a few big races with the winkers on in the past. So I think both of his Doncasters with the winkers on, All-Star Mile with the winkers on. They might have gone to the blinkers, but I think in the back of their mind, he's never had the blinkers on. If he fires up with them, then it's not the right play.
Why do they take him off if he's won those big races? Obviously, he's won good races without them, but is it just a surprise and keep the horse interested?
Yeah, it's an interesting point. I think it was just probably the last 12 months he hasn't had them on. They didn't start, say, preparations with them on, and it hasn't
his race well
impacted the way he's been performing.
Is it just something up your sleeve?
Yeah, I think it's just that something up your sleeve.
I know the race book will say no, but is he your 2,000 metre horse?
I don't see him. I don't see it as an issue.
No, I don't see it as an issue either.
But it's a Group 1 2,000 at a fast tempo. That's a different story. He still runs it. You take him to St. Arnaud, he'd run 2,000. Everyone would say, gee, he walloped him at 2,000. Like, this is the good of races you're going to get. And he's raced in some fast tempo, strong 2,000 metre races against the best horses in the country. That debate's a silly one, I think.
Yeah, I think that's more the point. It's when Pride of Jenny is in these 2,000 metre races. Can he handle that? If this is a standard Cox Plate that was going to be run 8 lengths above.
Last year was a slow tempo when he was right there.
Yeah, 8 lengths above to the 1,200, and everything sort of gets their chance. He runs a 2,000 fine. It's when Pride of Jenny pushes the button, or Declan Bates more the point, and he has to sustain this long run from the 1200. Can he run it then? I'm still a little bit on the fence. But you're getting a good price to find out about one of the best horses in Australia.
And he's been, for whatever reason, he's been the chaser.
Yeah.
Like he hasn't really had a horse to follow into the race to get Pride of Jenny, if that makes sense. He's been there.
He did in the Mackay Diva and he turned the table.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah.
And I don't want to suggest team riding or anything like this, but we've got the likes of Evaporate, who miraculously has gone from running in a carbine club to a Cox Plate in the week of. So it's fascinating there. I want to talk about Prognosis, the Japanese runner who has form around last year's winner, Romantic Warrior, twice placed, is known to bomb the start, but the style of racing in Japanese is sustaining strong tempos, which you'd think is just going to be right up Prognosis's alley when you're coming into a Cox Plate that has Pride of Jenny engaged.
He'll love that Pride of Jenny's there. Like you said, like those Japanese races, faster out, and it's a sustained test. So he'll love that. Problem with him is he's going to be the start. So how much is he going to concede at the start? I think you can't go into this race expecting he's going to jump clean because he's just got too many starts leading in where he bombs.
Too many strikes.
Yeah, too many strikes.
Yeah.
Exactly right. So I think best case is he sort of jumps a length or two slow and he can get, he can tack up Damien Lane. He's not last. Worst case is he bombs it by 5 and he's back last and has to circle the whole field. So from my point of view, from a betting perspective, he's just way too tight. I don't want to back a horse who's going to concede 4 lengths at the start, perhaps. And, he's got to run down our best horse in Australia in Pride of Jenny, in my opinion. And then you've got Via Sistina, you've got Mr. Brightside, Broadsiding as a 3-year-old. Like, this is not
even the best horse in Kira Ma's stable, Pride of Jenny.
You don't reckon?
Kira Ma said this on radio yesterday that he thinks Bella's a better horse. But
I like that.
I think that just shows the love that Bella
Apple pear, like whatever.
Maybe he gets a bit more money
in there.
He's got a fair bit of money out of Bella, so I can understand that. Yeah. Going back to this discussion around him, like it's not like we're taking $6 about this horse. And what you've also got to think with Romantic Warrior. Romantic Warrior is a professional, consistent, reliable champion who was able to, in all of his starts, he barely had a bad run, whereas Prognosis, he'd be a bit hit and miss. He's obviously got the talent, but from my perspective, he wins the race, I lose. Like, I just can't back him. I don't see a scenario where he's going to get further out than $4. Like, the big teams are going to really get interested in him.
I'm intrigued in that because I feel like from an Australian perspective, not a lot of punters will be backing Prognosis on the day because they don't know Prognosis. But it's the big teams, isn't it? It's the big guys when they get involved late that's going to really tell the tale.
I'll be betting here late, and I'll be using that marketing job.
Put himself in the big guys category when he
late, didn't he? Use that to your advantage because you've seen Cox Plates in late in recent times. They have plunged horses and haven't missed. Liz Kashur, they're jumping out of trees to back that in the last 2 minutes. Even Winks' first Cox Plate was huge go.
Sir Dragonet was another one. He was 12 down to $6.
Correct. They've just smashed them. I'll be betting late and using that marketing intel. I think Prognosis' best horse. I think Lane's been working on this horse as well and had several attempts out of the barriers. I think that's going to be crucial. No offense to Yuga Kawada, but
did well.
Damien Lane is a world-class jockey, and I think he'll be out. He knows what he's doing. So I think I'll back him in that he can not miss the start by 4. I think it'll be the practice he's put in, the work he's put in will get him jumping well. I think if he he misses it by length, I still think he wins. I've got him clearly on top, but I've got Broadsiding the main danger and Pride of Jenny third. So I think Broadsiding, I love what James Cummings said throughout the week on radio and an interview at track work on Tuesday morning. He was not giving his tactics away at all. It was before the barrier draw. He's come up with barrier 8. I think they will roll forward here. You see these 3-year-olds as the best way to ride them in a Cox Plate. They can't win coming from last, in my opinion. So just camp him a little bit closer. Jamie Carr on board. Just roll up. Does the chasing. I think Royal Patronage settles behind Royal Patronage settles behind Pride of Jenny. I think Evaporating won't be far away either. So I've got the map with Pride of Jenny leading, Royal Patronage, Broadsiding, and Evaporate settling close enough, and then the rest. But I think that map's important. I've got Prognosis on top from Broadsiding and who was the third one there? Pride of Jenny.
Yep.
What price do you need, Prognosis?
Again, it's a fascinating one, because if they come for it, will he drift a little bit and then they come late? Because I can see that happening. I can see him getting out to 420 and then coming back into 320. If he starts, I'll probably back him either way. I don't want to back him if he's 250, but if he's 250 and the market comes for him, he might not lose. So
yeah, I don't care what fast tempos you sustain in Japan. If you miss the kick with a horse like Pride of Jenny engaged, you're going to be chasing and out of your comfort zone for a long time. And I'm finding it very hard to see if Prognosis doesn't jump cleanly, misses the kick a few lengths. I don't care the amount of money that comes late. Like, you can't determine whether a horse jumps well or not. And I don't think if he jumps cleanly, he can win the Cox Plate.
I'm laying 2 here.
Oh.
I'm laying Brightside and I'm laying Vase.
Via Sistine is a huge... Talk to me why you're laying Via Sistine. Is it because she's had a Tommy Haylock birthday preparation this week and got a little bit loose at breakfast with the best?
No, I don't see that as a huge issue. I'll back Chris Waller in for that. I just worry about her at a really fast tempo. I think there's a bit of fangirl about Via Sistina. Sit sprint suits her. She can sprint really well, but chasing a long way out. And you have to put a pen through a couple of them. Mr. Brightside the same with a fast run 2040. So I'm just the two that are single figures that I've just said if they win, I'll lose, and I'll play around with those.
And would you lay either the place?
You could, yeah, no issue laying in both the place, winner place. But yeah, I just had to form an opinion. So it's a hard betting race. There's probably better racing. Oh yeah, better betting races at St Arnaud. But
are you going to be betting here or just saving it for St Arnaud as well?
No, I'll be betting here and at St Arnaud. But Pride of Jenny for me.
I like Trav.
Yeah, I think that the price you're going to get here about the situation, I think it's outstanding. Like, you're going to take $5, Pride of Jenny on the fair. She's going to go really hard. One thing we haven't seen with her this preparation is she hasn't absolutely busted races apart. Now, she's led and she's had the big margins, but from an actual, when you break down the speed, she hasn't gone further than plus 10 above through the first 1,200 metres of the race. When she's at her absolute best is when she goes plus 17, plus 18, plus 20, starts to break the hearts of horses. The plan B that Tony's talking about is going faster. That's the plan B. Don't get sucked into them thinking that she's going to take a sit. The plan
B, fully across that too. They got their form students.
They've got all the the gurus in there at Kiramar. Grand finals, Cox Plate Day. Yes, they would have loved to have won at King Charles, and I think they rode her in a manner that if her class got her over the line in the King Charles, great, but they didn't bust her up for the 7-day backup.
That was definitely in Declan Bates' mind. And just to add substance to that, because I'm with Pride of Jenny as well, I know it was 1,600 to 1,600 when she went Empire Rose to Cantala last year, but she actually ran a new peak figure in the Cantala that second week off the 7-day backup. And I know it's Sydney going to Cox Plate 2000. That's perhaps different gravy, but she's run at that point in time. She ran her career peak best figure off the 7-day backup, and I feel that was in the back of Declan Bates' mind, particularly when Major Beale was working him over. It was just still got his time, but she's gone faster in races than what she did last week in the King Charles.
Yeah, just one thing I've noticed on her, and I might be wrong. She hasn't looked comfortable in a couple of races, even late. I just thought Maccabi Diva, her action, she looked like she was struggling, and it was just her heart that put her into that race and made her there. Even late last week, the 2 runs of Fee and her action looked fine. But just in the last couple, she didn't look like she was travelling as well. So that's the back of my mind with her.
She still kicked back, didn't she? Like my Oberon sort of
had it
come up and shaded her, and she went, "No, piss off. Yeah. This is how we roll." So Chow's a very, very good horse.
I wish he was here.
Yeah, so do I.
So Pride of Jenny for you. Want to give you top 3 numbers?
Yeah, I'll go Pride of Jenny. I'm really comfortable backing her at $5. Mr. Brightside I'm putting in second. I just think the way the race is going to set up, even if he is a question mark at a strong 2,040 metres, he's going to get the best run. Something's going to drag him into it. He's going to be close to the fence, saving all the ground. Willow's an absolute genius tactician in these races. Like some of the best rides in Cox Plates are Craig Williams, Castle Vecchio, Pinka. Yeah, like even last year, his ride on Mr. Brightside was terrific. So I can't see him running poorly. And I think, again, you're going to take a good price. And the other horse, I hated what happened in the Caulfield Guineas. I really didn't like that he rated right down, but I back in James Cummings that he'll get it right for the 2,000. That's Broadside. I think he's got to run well.
He rated right down because he just didn't handle Caulfield. Like he got warm that last 50. That I thought that was the most positive part. But I'm out of that run. I actually had something on Evaporate at $101 for this race. So we're getting, it because I thought Evaporate's run. If you stripped the racing colours off Evaporate and Broadsiding and you didn't look at the body of work prior to that, you would have gone, well, Evaporate's gone better than Broadsiding here. And that's the way I saw it. So I've got I'm invested in Evaporate already, but Pride of Jenny on top for me from Via Sistina is how I'm going to play.
Great bet, Evaporate at that price. Just strong 2040s the query.
Oh, 3 from 3 at the Valley. I'm not highly confident that Evaporate's going to feature, but when you're getting sort of 26s to place and you're rolling in with an $18 SP, that's going to be pretty nice, I would have thought.
But 3-year-olds Cox Plate record as well, and they settle in the top 3. They usually run really well. So that's his chance.
Let's take a look at the Tesio race 10 before we flick to Royal Randwick. Plenty to discuss still. Wishlaw Lass won this race last year, beating Thalassophile and Osmos. It's formerly a mile race. Now it's run over the Cox Plate distance this year, so they've had a little bit of a shift to the 2040 for the Tesio. How are we assessing this? You blokes were pretty keen. You prefaced the likes of Firestorm earlier in the show.
Yeah, Tommy 2 play for me. Almost Tommy 3 play.
That's the third person.
Yes.
Yeah, every week. I actually respect third persons, but he's like a proper flog when he goes down this avenue.
It's Haylock's live a day here. Private Legacy.
You and Kanga at the MRC.
Correct.
Spirit animals.
Private Legacy is my lay. I can't have her here. Barrier 1 late in the day. Craig Williams on board. Just really concerned about Barrier 1. This horse is $5. It's won 1 from 15 for starters. It had I know it was back in the run at the 600 metres and flashed home last start, but she had the right lanes. She just got the suck run, right lane through the field. She was $31 there, if you don't mind. And now we expect her to take $5 late in the day. What is it? 18th race in 2 days, Moonee Valley, Barrier 1. For a back market, no thank you. Chris Waller, the key to the race. No concern for those worried about which one J-Mac's riding because can't ride the weight probably at Firestorm down with the 54.5. I've got those two clearly on top. To your point off air, you probably wanted to see a little bit better price for Molly Bloom off the 2 runs, but this just looks like a perfect race. Held up last start and gets J-Mac on Barrier 3. I thought she was okay. Really ridden softly the last 20 metres. I thought she picked up and was okay through the line there and just held up at a crucial stage. Up to 2,000 metres the key. And she's beaten half of these in the past.
That was the big thing for me, but I wanted a better price.
She's beaten Firestorm in 4 runs prior. 2 in New Zealand, 1 in the Group 1000 Guineas and over there. And Gold Coast Bracelet and the Queensland Oaks beaten Firestorm. Firestorm was fantastic at Epsom as well. Ran the 4th fastest 400 and 200 of that race. I think they're the 2 major players. I think they're really suited up to 2,000 metres. I think it's the right form. So, Hamburger, backing Molly Bloom and Firestorm and laying at Private Legacy.
That's got a little bit of pickle in it as well, doesn't it?
That's got a lot of double beef patty.
Yeah, I don't mind that.
Even a bit of pineapple. Yeah, I reckon.
Yeah.
I don't mind it at all. I could nearly take a leap of faith out of Tommy 2 play and just insert that into my own.
Travi 2 play.
Yeah.
I like it.
I'm with Firestorm. I think this is just a perfect race for a 54.5, so only half a kilo above the minimum. Coming back from an Epsom, which is clearly the best form race. And she was really good, as Tommy laid out. The last 200, she was second quickest in the race, only behind Chia Wolf. Stepping up to 2,000, big tick. She's raced at 2,000 metres plenty of times in the past. Beat Unusual Legacy at the 1900, who ran well in the Metrop. I think the market will really come for her here. I can see her starting much shorter than what the corporates have her given the way this race sets up, I reckon they'll really grab hold of her last start figure. And the D-Lane Chris Waller combination through the Melbourne Spring Carnival is running pretty well. So, yeah, I'm pretty happy with Firestorm. I think if we're taking to that 3:30 now, if you can take a bit of that on the fair early and then be in a position when she starts to firm in, you could even trade a little bit of it back. Yeah, I think she's one of the best of the day. I agree with Private Legacy, like backing that sort of style of horse from gate one, who's had one win, who had plenty in favour last start, just a bad play long term.
It's $41. Lady Jones, Osmos, and Vibrant Sun were all shorter in betting. Just off the SP alone, you couldn't back her at 5.
Boys, let's get into...
Do you have an opinion?
No, I don't have an opinion of the race. So I'll probably follow you in on Firestorm by that stage. Tommy's birthday, he'll be flying. Yeah, exactly.
Tommy might not even make it.
I don't think he will. I don't think he will.
You make the end of this show, though.
There is a war of attrition at the moment. Hey, let's get into what caught my eye quickly before we head to Randwick. And Tommy, it's a bit going on the exchange at the moment. We know the liquidity in these US election markets, and there's a little bit around the new Tipsters function as well.
Follow Tipsters footy. Get your big audience and your numbers across, and they can follow you on our Betfair app. The Follow Tipsters has launched, so make sure you've got the latest version of the app, and you can follow your great tipsters, whether it be...
So we're going to go to the app store.
Glenn Ingram, the Carroll brothers, who are fantastic. There's so many good tipsters.
The Layback team?
Layback team are up there, so just follow us in. Download the latest version of the Betfair app, and click the follow button, and you get alerts when the tips are in the app, which is fantastic. The other thing, what caught my eye, US presidential election, you mentioned that. $199 million traded on the market as it stands, with a couple of weeks to go. Trump now $1.72. He was $1.62, I think it was, earlier in the week. He's just been drifting a little bit now, but he has been a solid mover in the last couple of weeks, in from about $2.20. Harris $2.40 now. Trump hit a high of $21 and a low of $1.41. So the fluctuations there in a market with $199 million traded is outrageous. We saw Harris, or just on Trump as well, he's had $108 million matched on him alone in that market. So over half of the turnover on Trump. Harris traded as high as $150 and a low of $1.82. So a bit to play out there in the next couple of weeks, but head to Betfair and good viewing.
Doesn't quite resemble a Moe Maiden or a Trots race at Nelson on a Saturday or something, does it? That's just silly money. It's crazy. Boys, let's head to Randwick quickly. We've got 4 races to get through there. We'll kick off with the Group 3 CRAVEN plate, which Zarek won last year. How are we going to be playing this? I think Trav and I are going to have a little bit of a bet here, Trav.
Yeah, the Group 3 CRAVEN plate. I thought it's a good race for Democracy Manifest. He isn't a horse that wins out of turn, but this looks a really good setup for him. He doesn't have to get as far back at 1800. Nash on, good run in the Epsom. He's actually run really well in all of his races so far this campaign. I thought his first up run was super in the Show County behind Jolly Star, and he loves Randwick. A few horses in this race are genuine question marks. Faulkner Park, you got to wonder why he's actually gone back to Sydney. I thought they'd go to the paddock. Yeah, so huge question marks on where he's at. Couldn't back him. Lindemann second up off a pretty average run. And then the rest of the field, it's still warming into preparation. So, yeah, happy to back the fit in form horse.
Yep, I'm going to be backing Lindemann here. I thought it was a complete forgive first up. Was trialling well before that, had drawn out, and in the first 50 metres, snagged back to last, which isn't how Lindemann races best. And resented it too, was pulling his head off. Completely different setup here. Drawn barrier 1, Morera on board. They're going to be positive. I think it'd be really hard to beat Lindemann, so I'm going to back him on what he's produced second up as well in his previous preparations.
$750,000 race, and there's one horse in form, and that was a Toowoomba. It is absolute garbage. There you go.
Love that. That's like
look at the 900087007.
So go shopping, delve into the donuts. I've delved into Lindemann's donut. So I reckon there's an angle there. Yeah, Lindemann in the benchmark 58 at St Arnaud.
Yeah.
Let's go. Hey, let's go to the Group 1, the Spring Champion Stakes for the 3-year-olds over 2,000 metres. Your past three winners are Tom Kitten, Sharp and Smart, and Profondo. A few different angles here, a couple coming through the same race from back in the field. I think we're going to be playing through a similar form line here as this race would suggest. Tommy, I'm sensing some form of hamburger with a lot.
Correct. You are on the money as you usually are. I'm against the favourite. I think it is favourite there in El Costello. Still just had every chance last start. Swift Falcon taken back, Hamline taken back, not given any chance in that blowing the lead up. I think they can definitely turn the tables. Hamline, I think, can map a lot closer drawn in.
Yeah.
And that's his chances of winning. I just think El Costello's a silly price, too short for me. Laying him, backing Swift Falcon and Hamline.
Yeah, couldn't come up with a better case for either horse. They just had no chance the way that race was run last start. Thought Swift Falcon was the better run. Market, is obviously cottoned onto that, but he was just super that last 400 metres. Randwick 2000. I'm hoping they don't go right back to last from the wide draw. But it looks a good race for him. I'm happy to sort of take the price Swift Falcon and just hope that he's the best horse.
I'm going to lay Henline. I think Henline's an absolute tease. It's one of these horses that has the ability, but back markers drawing inside, going back, and we can fall into the trap every time and say, oh, we've drawn one and we can settle closer.
Yeah.
But you're a back marker. So do you take, well, I'm willing to put my money where my mouth is
get back
here, and I'm going to be laying Henline off that, as you'll fall into back markers a lot more than you'll come out on top with them. So
I feel like we need to ring the bell in here and get some gloves in for the two of you. This is getting
I know. We street fight later. No padding required.
Yeah, it's been nice here.
Yeah, exactly. This is as polite as Tom and I get, to be fair. Few differing views on today's show, though. I like it.
Good.
Most of the differing view is mine.
Yeah.
Let's go to race 8. It's the Group 2, the invitation for the fillies and mares over 1400. Espiona, Promise of Success, and Ice Bath are your past three winners of the race. So I feel like we're going to get back on track here, you and I, Trav, because we are taking a liking to a Graham Begg mare.
I love G Begg. Like, he's just such a great trainer. I was looking at his stats to start this season. He's at 25% strike rate. The best thing for the punters. They, so profitable, and he's just targeted this mare at one race since the autumn. I think he's always had in the back of mind $2 million race, the invitation. Now it's got Group 2 status. Nash on. Has to cover a little bit of ground. That's the only little query. I would have loved to see her draw.
She did last year too.
Yeah, did last year. And then I went back and looked at the Rupert Clark. She's never on the course in that race. Maybe it suits her just to be out in clear galloping room. I like the run in the Gilgai. I know a few people are knocking it, just thinking it was an okay run, but she was first up there at 1200 metres, testing conditions. They ran along at a reasonable tempo, and I thought she stayed to the line fine. So
wrong part of the track.
Yep, I think there's a real case for that as well. Second up record, perfect. 1400, much more her go. I'd have a clear favourite over Alencia, and happy to bet.
I'm with you. And Alencia, just to add, I'm not prepared to lay Alencia, but does regress generally second up, particularly from a ratings point of view. But Magic Time is a back for me too. I was happy to oppose her in the Gilgai, drawing one. She was my lay streak bet actually that day. But she was really good, I thought. She had to come across, find some better ground. She was tight and for him late. Should have run third. And when you look at a record, well, she's a two-time Group 1 winner at 1400 metres and finds a really winnable race here in a Group 2, but the invitation. So Magic Time for me as well. I think she's the best bet on the program in Sydney.
Love that.
Yep. Let's have a look at...
Oh, before we go, I did want to lay Zugotcha.
Oh, good.
Because I thought off that, really, really average run where she had excuses, but then I thought the trial in between was a bit plain, and I don't love sort of backing a horse off a setback going to a $2 million race. So
tongue-tie scares me. Couldn't lay it.
Yeah, it's just Trav just throwing out. He goes, just before I got you, I also want to lay Zugotcha just before you go. Yeah, I'm into this. Hey, let's take a look at race 9 as well. The listed 5 Diamonds Prelude for the 5-year-olds, if you don't mind. Set weights and penalties, 1500 metres. Trav, we just can't stop you from betting.
Yeah,
basically.
Good.
I like this because the last couple of weeks I've had strip out after strip out. I'm going terrible, so I just went straight into the form Monday, Tuesday.
Good.
And I just thought that both of the cards have actually come up very punter friendly compared to the last couple of weeks where it's been very hard.
Don't you dare say that. Don't you dare. We were having a terrific show, and he's gone nothing. No, I'm out.
Yeah, I might have jinxed everyone, but I'm happy to bet. I thought this horse, Territory Express, if he, like what Tommy was saying, if you switch, or what you were saying about Evaporate, switch the silks, switch the trainer, and this horse would be favourite. He was terrific first up at Rose Hill there in the Allen Brown. He got back to last.
I backed him there.
Gee, was a big run.
40s or something. Yeah.
He finished 2 lengths off the winner and hit a shock. He now draws barrier 13, so I'm assuming they're going to have to go back again. But I like the change with Zach Lloyd, top rider in Sydney. I'm hoping up to 1,500 they don't have to go as far back. And just off what he was able to do last preparation, he was just terrific. And he liked Randwick, so happy to back him, Territory Express. Bit of pace on.
What sort of price are we getting around Territory Express?
I think we're getting around $5, so he's a little bit shorter than...
$7. We can get 7s at corporates at the moment, so we'll get 7. More on Betfair as well. Okay,
I like that.
That'd be a bit of juice to finish the day there for Trav Noonan and the followers of him on the brand new Betfair Punters app.
Betfair app. Yep.
Flying in. I'm getting fatigued. The show's gone for 6 hours. Let's go to the lay streak, where I'm back to $100. Tommy's on 319 liability. Trav, you ticked the box when you were here last. You got 153 as liability. Who's your best lay of the weekend?
Best lay of the weekend. I'm going to go Nugget. Can't see him winning, so happy to be against Nugget. Doesn't win. Even though he's got J-Mac and the blinkers on, that should keep him firm in the market, and he's the best lay.
What about you, Tommy?
Private Legacy. Win for this lay streak, but I'll be laying win and place.
Can I multi I Am Unstoppable with the Henline, or do I just have to choose one?
You have to choose one.
Yeah, Henline in the Spring Champion. Back marker, barrier 1. Don't fall into the trap of drawn inside. We can settle closer. What about our best backs for the weekend, Trav?
2. I'm very, very keen on the Sydney horses going to Melbourne. So
would it be fair to say that you and Tom might be in firm agreement about this particular runner?
Yeah, firm agreement, definitely.
Yeah.
But to go away from Tommy 2 play and just to stick on my own bat, Polyemna, I think she'll win the Fillies Classic.
You did give that a push.
I said she was a moral, so she's got to be there.
That's a push.
That's a push.
Yep, fair call. Tommy, what about you?
Pretty keen Swift Falcon and don't want to lose if Henline wins the Spring Champion. My best firm agreement. And I think Wolfgang, I wish there was 8 runners because we're going to each way play at a huge price.
Yeah, Oscar's Fortune's my best of the weekend in the McEwen, and Magic Time's my best in Sydney. So I'll give one for each state there. Geez, we've covered a lot, boys. It's been a lot of fun.
Only about an hour.
Okay.
That's all right. I thought we would
a lot of races.
It's quality. Yeah, we time flies.
Get the green screen up for me.
Yeah, exactly right. Hey, all the best, Tommy, for you.
Thanks,
birthday weekend,
Thank
Cox
you.
Plate. Trav, great to see you on layback again.
Oh, it's good.
It's good to have some sense being spoken on the show, actually. Yeah, and some bets as well. Tommy just sits on the fence. Before we leave, I just wanted to say it is New South Wales Gambling Harm Awareness Week. So we covered this on the show last week, but just on our way out, we're just going to throw to a video of Jason, who's going to talk a little bit more about raising awareness of safer gambling practices. Have a good weekend.
My advice for staying disciplined and gambling responsibly is using the Betfair tools such as a deposit limit. You also have a feature as take a break, but for me personally, I like to have a day off on Sundays. I think that's a great day for me to reflect. I like to get out in nature like where we are today, walk in the trees, walk my greyhound, and just sort of unwind a bit. I guess it can become a little bit overwhelming, especially when you're not going as good as you want to. But that's okay because everyone's been there, from people that have just $5 punters to some of the greatest punters in this industry, such as Kingsley Bartholomew and whatnot. They've all had losing runs. It can happen to anyone. It can happen at any possible time. You just don't know when it's going to happen. But it's very important that you don't burst your bank. You have those measures in check, such as the deposit limits, the take a break option, and also having the self-control yourself to sort of step away and have a look at, is this something you can really gamble with?
Hey guys, it's Bella here.
It's Jackson here from such places as the Victorian expert tips on the Betfair hub and all the winning lays you see on Twitter.
Steve Quick here.
Yes, g'day punters, it's Mitch Lewis here, and we are excited to announce a new Betfair app feature called
Follow Tipsters.
This means you can follow your favourites.
Like me.
Or me.
Or me.
or me.
And get notified the minute our tips go live.
Follow me in this spring.
By heading to the App Store to update your app to make sure you don't miss out.
Good luck if you are betting this spring.
Chances are you're about to lose. For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.